Thank you, Fergal. And thank you all. And I suppose I get to say welcome as well. I hope you've had a fantastic morning. I'm supposed to stand on this dot. It's been tantalizing kind of watching from backstage, but I think it probably all looks pretty great from where you guys are. Yeah, this is a huge moment. I know Kate said at the very beginning, this is a huge moment for the B Corp movement in the UK and for B Lab and for our team. There's 600 of you here who've all come together to explore with us what's going on right now, the future of business. And I suppose to share our vision for what that future looks like and what we all want to see come about in the years to come. And so I want to start off with this idea of a notion, a vision for the future, and what that actually looks like. We talk a lot in the B Corp movement about the journey, the journey to certification, the journey that business is on. But of course, every journey has a destination. And I think in many ways, the SDGs, which we've heard a little bit about already today, they kind of give us a glimpse of that destination. They paint a bit of a picture for some of these big, audacious goals, which if we achieve them, will give us the kind of world that we're looking for in 2030. And then there's more work to do, but that's a nice kind of milestone for us to aim towards. And so you probably all know the SDGs. Many businesses I know are already using the SDGs to measure what they do in various ways. But we've been exploring with the UN how the SDGs and the B Corp tools and frameworks can work more closely together, be more complementary, and also provide practical tools for measuring and managing impact through the lens of the SDGs. So I'm going to play a really short video which is going to explain that far better than I could.
B corporations believe in better business for a better world.
Las empresas B creemos en mejores negocios para un mundo mejor.
Les B Corp croient à l'utilisation du monde des affaires pour un monde meilleur.
In just over a decade, we have already accomplished so much, growing to more than 3,000 B Corps across 70 countries. A truly global network using business as a force for good. Now we must do even more to alter the course of history and ensure that our collective action counts against the existential crises of our times. It's time to transform the world.
Es hora de cambiar el mundo.
Il est temps de transformer le monde.
In 2015, 193 countries of the United Nations adopted the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, known as SDGs. A global set of goals for a shared and durable prosperity. But it isn't enough to just envision the SDGs. With just 10 years left to act to achieve these ambitious goals, it's time for the B Corp community to rise up as leaders in this global effort. That's why B Lab has partnered with the United Nations Global Compact to create the SDG Action Manager, to inspire and track bold action towards the 17 SDGs. As a representative of your business, your country, your generation, pledge to take action on the SDGs today. Choose which goals your business is prepared to fight for and spread the word about the SDG Action Manager. With the SDG Action Manager, every action your business takes is a building block in driving the collective change we all want to see. Together, let's change the course of history and drive better business for a better world.
Juntos cambiemos el curso de la historia e impulsemos mejores negocios para un mundo mejor.
Ensemble, changeons le cours de l'histoire et utilisons le monde des affaires pour créer un monde meilleur.
So that video, as you may have been able to tell, has been on a bit of a journey. That was first shown at our B Corp event in Mendoza in Argentina. It was then shown in Los Angeles, it was then shown in Amsterdam, and it's here today. And it forms really our invitation to all of you, whether you're B Corps or you're not, to make a pledge, make a commitment, to embrace the SDGs, to think about these 17 goals and to think about where you can make clear commitments and pledges to work towards these goals. So the Action Manager tool that we mentioned is a tool to do so. So it's not all words. That tool is going to be released early next year. So there is also an invitation to sign up to be a beta tester for that tool to take very practical steps. If you want to do both those things. Then out in the foyer, when you go out for lunch, I am the only thing now standing between you and lunch, by the way. And I'm definitely not keeping to that timer, so sorry about that. But when you do go out for lunch, there's going to be a series of stalls out there, and there's going to be an SDG stall, which is going to be attended by some SDG experts who can tell you more and who can share more about the Action Manager, and you can sign up to be a beta tester through the link that they can give you. You can also get your hands on one of those cubes that people were throwing about on screen, and you can throw one around if you want. But the objective there is for you to sign one of those cubes on the SDG that you've identified to signal your pledge and your commitment to that SDG, and you can selfie and do things if you're into it. So there's a sort of a real kind of tangible action here, and as you also head out for lunch, you'll also see a series of other marketplace stalls, and I want to mention those very briefly. Those stalls are being run, first of all, by B Corp, by B Lab in the case of the SDG one, and also we've got our own B Lab stand there where those of you who are interested can come along and can find out more about the certification and the movement. That's being attended by our brilliant B Lab UK team. James and Amy are going to be there, so say hi. And you're also going to see a whole bunch of stalls which are being run by our Be Inspired partners. So a big thanks to them. There's some amazing businesses to go and check out, to see what they're up to learn more about their B Corp certification and, of course, what they do and what they produce as a business as well. But I want to very quickly mention 3 of our key partners. First of all, Be Inspired Films. You will see people walking around with cameras and filming us, and Be Inspired Films are those people, and they're going to make you all look lovely in the footage, so be nice to them. I also want to thank Simply Business, which is frankly a brilliant business, and also a proud B Corp, so a big thanks to them for being a key partner. Finally, conspicuously not a B Corp, but I want to thank Santander for being a key partner in this event. Now, Santander, first and foremost, have acknowledged that they are at the beginning of a long journey. And I think that's great, that acknowledgement. They've also committed, as part of being here today, to take the BIA as a first step on that long journey. But they're also here in a very clear role as our inclusion partner. And we heard a little bit at the beginning about how important diversity and inclusion is to us at B Lab, and it's a crucial part of this event. And as part of that partnership, we've been able to invite 40 people to this event who are sitting here now, who otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to be here. So they're people from underrepresented communities with an interest in entrepreneurship and enterprise. So that's a really important thing for us to be able to do. And so a big thank you to Santander for that. Now, the problem with opening this is that it's hard to talk about the B Corporation movement in the UK without talking about the UK. And I think it's fair to say that it's hard to summarize the state of the UK at the moment. But there is a reason why I call it the state of the UK. I say that because I think it conveys something of an element of optimism, calling it a state. Hopefully it's a temporary state in terms of the kind of upheaval and certainly the uncertainty that people are feeling. But it also clearly conveys the fact that we are in a state. But these pictures, I think, tell us more than just that. They tell us that actually the movements that we're seeing out on the streets, whether it's people taking to the streets to be heard, what we're seeing through the rise of populism in our politics, we are seeing a profound discontent with the systems which govern our lives. And in the UK, there's something of a perfect storm of that coming together in the political, in the social arena. But of course, we know it's not just the UK. We know there's also a rise of these movements, and we know there's discontent with systems all over the world, which is something that doesn't necessarily come as a surprise to us within the B Corporation movement, because we know that the system hasn't been working. And we heard from Colin at the very beginning that business hasn't been working for the good of all of us. But of course, the rise of these movements over the last 6 months, year, has been incredibly powerful in terms of driving interest in the B Corporation movement, what we're doing, and ultimately the B Corporation model as an alternative to the systems that exist at the moment that aren't working for people. And so, you've seen business trying to respond. You heard in the middle there, that's a reference to the Business Roundtable announcement that, again, Colin spoke about at the beginning. Business sees these shifts, sees this discontent, sees the unease, and sees ultimately the inevitability that things will have to change. And the Business Roundtable announced that, okay, we do have to change. We have to work for shareholders, for stakeholders rather than just shareholders. And of course, we see the response to that. We see the response to that from thought leaders and from the media. And in this case, we've got the FT saying it's time for a reset of capitalism. And that fundamentally is the system that is tying together all of these other systems that ultimately aren't working for people and that are not delivering equality, prosperity, and looking after the planet that we all rely on. And the B Corp community has responded. We've seen this as a moment. We've seen this as a unique historical moment. And in response to the Business Roundtable, our colleagues in the US took out a full-page advert in the New York Times, and they said, let's get to work. Because you can come out and you can say that we're changing, but what does it mean? What's the action? And of course, being a B Corporation is a very tangible action. Our colleagues followed suit. We've got Australia here. We've got, I think, Paraguay here. We've got Italy here. And they came out one after the other and said in each of their countries with the signatures of B Corps in that country, let's get to work. Now, of course, we were going to do the same, but we're B-Lab UK, and we do retain a sense of British exceptionalism, so we thought, let's go bigger and better. And we took to the streets with this campaign, which, can you just put your hands up if you saw this? Okay, I'm happy with that. So the people who saw this are among literally millions of people that saw this campaign on the streets and online. And this launched on the Climate Strike Day a couple of weeks ago. And our thinking here was, this is a perfect storm. There is a rise of really sort of enlightened citizens who see the role of systems in their lives and how they're not working. We also know that there are an incredible number of businesses who are taking action, but obviously lots who aren't. And we know that we can get out there, we can speak to people on the streets, and we can empower them with this message to go to businesses and to demand more. So we took it to the streets, we had an amazing response. And we couldn't have done that without the B Corp community. So I know I haven't given you any stats or graphs, so here are some. The number at the top there is our BIA users. This for us is a measure of demand. The number of businesses who have come onto our website in the UK and registered for an account on our assessment. And you can see that graph, that's exponential. You can see there that it is rising at an uncontrollable rate, and we're seeing that every week. We track this every week, and how many businesses have created accounts on our assessment. And we're setting new PBs every week. It's like being trained by Alberto Salazar. That's a little running joke for those of you who didn't get it. But our challenge, frankly, has been that we can't keep up with that demand. We haven't been able to keep up with that demand. Look at that graph of certified B Corps. That's pretty steady. And we, frankly, have been certifying businesses in the UK as fast as our global verification team can certify them since we launched in 2015, which is great, but we've always wanted more of that. We've wanted more capacity to certify more businesses. And the good news is, I want to focus finally on that number in the bottom left-hand corner. 32 new B Corps have joined the community in the last 90 days. That is a dramatic acceleration in terms of the number of B Corps that we can certify. That's the result of capacity increases in that verification team, which have come online in the last 90 days, and we expect that to accelerate and to continue accelerating. And ultimately, we're really excited that we're going to be able to start meeting more of that demand, which we know is just going to grow and grow and grow. So really exciting stuff here. If my timer hadn't reached 0, I was going to get all the community to stand up again and hug each other. But you're going to have to do that while you're having lunch. But the important thing to say here is that we couldn't do any of this, and we couldn't have launched that campaign, and we wouldn't have this stage, and we wouldn't have the credibility to talk about systems change, we wouldn't have the inspiration of hearing from businesses if it wasn't for our community. So this, not just because it's got graphs on it, is the most important slide that I'm going to talk to today. But this is my penultimate slide. I want to just pause here, and I want to just reflect very briefly on a challenge which I face a lot, and which I think the B Corporation movement has always faced, which is navigating the sort of dizzying disparity in altitudes between talking about systems change, talking about capitalism, talking about a vision for the future, and talking about individual businesses, talking about the actions that you take and the impact that you have every single day. How are we supposed to join those dots and, as an aggregate, as a whole, think about the impact that we're having and how it all ladders up to the future that we want to see? And there's a reason why this is a picture of London and why there's a weird floating diamond above it, because I think that we need to think about the perspective. We need to situate ourselves in time and place here. And when I do that, I think it's incredibly exciting, because I think in the UK, we have the perfect storm of factors, of environmental factors that are coming together that will enable us to drive this change. We've got a room here full of enlightened business leaders who want to change. We've got the media. We've got centuries-old media institutions coming out and saying this system needs to be reset. Right? We've got investors who are desperate for businesses who are acting in this way to invest in. We've got academics and experts like those that you've seen on the stage today who are leading the way from this country and thinking about what the future needs to look like. This is all happening in the UK, and it's all happening in the UK under the eyes of a political system which is going through convulsions the like of which we haven't seen for generations. And of course we know our political system will adapt. It's the most adaptable in the world. So as we look to the future, we need to think about how all those things come together. We need to feel our agency at this moment in terms of shaping the future that's going to come. And I think that's incredibly exciting. How often do you feel a sense of history in your actions? So I want us to take away that thought, and I want us to take away the knowledge that actually in the UK, I think we can consider ourselves to be the leaders in this movement with what we're doing at the moment, and I think we can consider ourselves to be at the very cutting edge of redefining our capitalist system. And in the UK, as B Lab UK, that's obviously a slight burden of responsibility, but I think it's one that we're equipped to deal with the community that we have behind us. And a final thought is that you will have noticed among those actors and among those environmental factors that are in place, a key one of those is government. And as B Lab UK, it is our position that the government should adopt the requirements that it makes that B corporations live up to in terms of acting for people, planet, and profit. And those requirements should apply to all businesses. Because this is something we've said since the very beginning. We've said all businesses ought to be conducted as if people and place mattered. This is the founding document of the B Corp movement, an incredibly prescient piece of writing that was written 13 years ago. And so as B Lab UK, we believe that the best way of bringing this to life right now is by continuing the work we're doing with the community, by asking government to make these requirements of all businesses. And you're going to hear more about that piece of policy work in the coming months and years. If you have expertise with policy and with government, then I do urge you to get in touch. But the key point here is that this isn't controversial anymore. This is the conversation we're all having. This is the debate that's out there. This is more salient than it's ever been. We've been talking about it in these rooms, and we've been smaller rooms, admittedly, for many years. But now this is out there, and this is the conversation that's being had. And so we should feel ourselves really empowered with the solution to the questions that are being asked. We have the solution. And so it's a case of getting that solution in front of as many people as possible right at the moment when they're asking for it. And that's our route to the system change that we seek. So, exciting times, and I look forward to chatting to you all about it at lunch, which is really late. Now, my final job is to do some housekeeping. All of those stools are outside. Go out there and check them out while you're eating. Your lunch is shorter than it was going to be, for which I apologize, but you're not here to eat. And the final thing to say is that you can come into here 20 minutes before the next session. Do that if you want a good seat, because seats are unreserved, and we will be doing some sound checks and things in here in between, so we're going to be shutting the doors. So do take everything with you while you're out. Thank you very much. Have a lovely lunch. I'll see you all soon.